Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the podcast. I'm your co-host M2 Dave, and I'm here with my co-hosts Rio, Tom Brady, Zyphox, and our new co-host Crimson Shadow. Um, welcome to the podcast. Is a all new co-host, man. Congrats.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks a lot.
Don't forget
Happy
our
to be here.
guest.
That's right. I have not forgotten about guest. Our guest is returning Burrito Voorhees, aka King Junior. Welcome back, dude.
Hey, what's up, guys? And congrats on the co-host, Crimson Shadow.
Thanks a lot, man.
That's right, man. Crimson Shadow always try to calls it in a neutral. I think he's done a good job. People on YouTube like it. People on Tester might like it. People on Twitter like it. So I think he's definitely he has deserved the spot. Um, I wanna I have specific. I was gonna ask everybody kind of specific questions, but I'm gonna start one with that's kind of generic for everybody. I want to know briefly, please. After everything that you have seen thus far, more specifically yesterday, of course, with the combat cast. What are you most looking forward to when you think about Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate? Let's start with
The community. Can I start? Sorry.
Rio. Go ahead.
I'm looking forward the most to the community because this patch is the one that the community has been asking for since day one. This is their game. They're finally getting it. They're getting their patch custom tailored to them. Look at what NRS is addressing. The pokes, the down ones, the throws, the fatal blows, the variations, Jackie, and additional balance. I mean, this you could not ask for a better patch for this community. Every single thing that was on the list about getting complained at, NRS has literally addressed. I'm impressed by NRS.
Let's go with King Junior.
Much of what Rio said. I mean, the only thing I'm really thinking that I could have asked for that they missed. Well, I'm not being picky at this point with what they're addressing. Is anti-airs and jump kicks, but and maybe fatal blows costing a resource, but still a really good step in the right direction in my opinion.
Tom.
The knowledge that it takes to play a fighting game. I feel like, not that it took no knowledge, but a lot of stuff was a lot of similar answers to things. And then any character where you actually had to be a little more in depth to find answers. Cetrion, Jackie, Liu Kang, Joker, those characters were instantly deemed like, oh my God, over the top, whatever, just because they had a mind game and it wasn't just a simple like down one here, throw here, etc. The fact that now there's so much stuff in the game, there's so much freedom, knowledge matters. Like you'll see people losing and say, what is that move? They don't even know. They don't know how to get out of stuff, etc. And just the fact that people initially will obviously not like it because they're used to one thing. But I feel like once people really get into the game, they'll realize this is what I've always loved. This is what I've been missing. The thing I love the most about Mortal Kombat, and I don't know how Rio feels, who's also a huge MK fan in general, is the identity of the Mortal Kombat characters. That's why I've played them all. Rio's played them all. We love the identity of who these characters are. It draws us to the game. I feel like the characters were missing their own identity, their own play styles, and all that's back. So I'm very excited.
Thank you, Tom. Let's go with Zyphox.
I'm most excited for just the overall freedom that we're gonna have now. I feel like we're free finally. The fact that so many moves were locked behind like just the developer choosing the variation and how it was gonna work. I just see the freedom to be liberating. It's gonna be something like people who were creative with their characters are actually gonna be able to be creative with their characters now. Like I'm already finding some stuff with like Liu Kang that I'm like, damn, this definitely, even he has like the most cookie cutter basic like variations, and his like he doesn't have anything new or crazy like some of the other characters. But even he has something that like, okay, well, I can see why developers had this reason to like separate these moves to begin with, because the combination of these moves here kind of make him kind of like, wow, this is great. That's all I gotta say. The freedom.
Well, Cruz, speaking of freedom, I think you were initially against the custom variation system. Why do you think now is the right time to bring in the system?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I was against doing it at the start is that I think it would have been absolute mayhem. I think given the fact that in 2 years they tried to make a new game with completely new meter system, a completely new type of meta, completely new gravity, completely new wake up system, and all this stuff, to also throw custom variations in on top of that at the start before you know how these characters play would have been absolute disaster. And we've seen in the past that most people within and also outside of our community are not very forgiving of our games when they're disasters, right? Like we all remember those years of being booed at Evo, of going to our first Evo and we're all excited and we get on stage and the whole crowd is like, boo. And yeah, there's absolutely no way that they had time to balance the game and balance the custom variations given the time that they originally had. Versus now, we know how most of these characters play. We know what their tools do. We understand how everything in the game works together in terms of all the new systems. And so now, number one, not only is it a great time to say, now with that, we can give people more freedom. But number two, look at what it's going to do for the game. We're basically like a year and a half in. Now we get a whole new shot of momentum. All of a sudden, we're looking at the game in a whole new light. And given that people said that they wanted this game to be the game that we played for the longest, they said, look, we don't want the 2-year cycle anymore. We want NRS to support the games for longer. We want the tournament scene to last for longer. Now the tournament scene is getting a huge shot of adrenaline in the arm a year and a half into the game. So I think that's pretty much the most that you could ask for at this point. And as far as like what I'm looking forward to, a few things. One is I love the fatal blow change. I think that it's cool that in certain specific cases, instead of just saying, look, we're going to take this out of the game, what they said is, look, we're not going to take it out, but we're going to make sure that better players have the tools to deal with these things. So, you're still going to have to lab it. You're still going to have to be a decent player. But being able to change certain things to 6-frame fatal blow window, or 6-frame flawless block window on things like fatal blows and also other specific moves, means that you're rewarded for labbing the game, and I like that a lot. And the second thing that I'm looking forward to is the lack of excuses. I love that part. All these people who are like, listen, I can't be good at the game because it's scrubby, because people are mashing pokes all the time, and they're just waking up with buttons, and they're doing all this other stuff. Now, all of those excuses are gone. They changed almost all of those systems in some way. And you can pick your variation. So now it's on you to be the better player. And that's something that I'm really, really going to enjoy.
All right. Let me ask this question to Tom, then to all of you. So I have talked to Cherney the other day, and just to give the devil,
my God.
just to give the devil his due. It's not really what he linked me to a tweet that when I asked Tom about.
What tweet?
And I'm about to read it to you. This is Zyphox speaking. Calling it now. Meta is going to be command grab, specials that launches, and a mid projectile. Mark my words. Tom, is this true? And if so, how will the community handle it?
That the game is going to be command grab.
Yeah, those three. He says the game will be command grab, special move that launches, and mid projectile. Well, pretty much a good projectile. Do you think that's true? And if so, I'm asking you because you're a guy who commentates tournaments, who streams the game. I'm asking you how the community will react if that statement is true.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell that right now, in my opinion, just because they're already adjusting certain properties. What if it's command throws that got touched? What if it's special moves that don't launch anymore? Like, there's a lot of variables that we have to wait and see right now. So it's too early to tell, I think. Also, with the amount of options you have, there's always going to be a counter. A command grab is this, that's about making the better read. In general, there are always going to be archetypes that have a natural advantage over other archetypes. That's just how fighting games are. So if an archetype of a command grab character or a good projectile or a launching special, etc., has an advantage against another archetype, you can always switch your custom to something else. or you can just do the old-fashioned way and lab and adapt. And just because you're at a disadvantage doesn't mean you still can't find a way to win. But I think that's something that hasn't been present. Mortal Kombat, I feel like for years, has been so much. To be honest with you, in my opinion, not since MK9. There's only 3 MK games. I don't mean to go back that far, but because the variation system started, it was good in X, but it was also somewhat restrictive. The game was one way, very aggressive, etc. I feel like matchups were more set in stone in that game. And even in this game to some extent because of how restrictive the game was. And even still, you could still find ways to outplay people. But I feel like matchups have so much more freedom now that what's written on paper is not literally set in stone. So I feel like though it's possible those could be the most dominant tactics, but that doesn't mean there's no way to counter them. There's 1,000 ways to counter it. Sometimes you just have to be the better player and adapt and find a better strategy. I think there's a lot more exploration than people are giving the game credit for. So I would say we wait and see. But if that is the case, there's always something dominant in every meta, regardless of what it is. It doesn't mean there's no way around it. So that's how I feel about it.
All right, well said. I definitely agree. I'm gonna try to ask everybody, different questions. Hope the audience and the guests and co-hosts don't mind. Rio, do you think people are gonna get bored of the game, even with all these changes and with the customizable variations?
Of course, over time, eventually people will get bored with the game, move on. But I don't think people realize how much the meta is going to change from currently how it is. Like, for example, let's say you're playing against Scorpion, right? He does 4-3 stagger. What do people do when Scorpion starts doing 4-3 staggers over and over? They poke, right? Well, now that they introduced short hopping, completely being immune to down ones on the first frame, Scorpion can do a 4-3 stagger and then do a short hop. And you can't, no more poke and throw now right there. Those options are now a risk. Because what if he short hops? You go for a throw, you're going to get full comboed. You go for a poke, he can hit you now. Like, it's going to change the meta on a lot of character staggers. I think the offense and the whole Yomi mind games are going to get way crazier than people realize. The fact that throws are going to do a little bit less damage, fatal blows getting touched, variations. And also, I just want to say about custom variations. A lot of people are kind of freaking out about, this or this is going to be broken. But I don't think people realize that some of them are probably going to be fine-tuned. They're not going to just... Like, all the moves you look at right now for customs, they're not just all going to release all of them and none of them are going to be touched. Like, they literally addressed Aaron's downward low shot move, which was, in my opinion, his second best custom move. And it's no longer really safe anymore. You don't know what they're going to touch. So I know some people are freaking out about, this or this is going to be dumb or cheap. Nobody knows if they increased a custom move costing 2 slots from 1, or if they changed the frame data property. Like, we don't know yet. But I just want to say that.
And I think that's an important point too, is that we're gonna have to be patient. Like, regardless of however good a job they did with balance, guaranteed it's not gonna be perfectly balanced day one. There's gonna be some stuff that's broken. There's gonna be some stuff that looks good and it's probably weak. So I think it's important that we give things time to grow. That we don't expect it to be super perfect day one, but we accept the fact it's gonna be exciting. It's different, and they'll probably continue to work with it over time.
Yeah, and it makes sense why NRS waited this time to release customs. They wanted more of that time to make sure when they do release customs, it's better balanced than it would have been if they did it on the day one. Because look at Aaron, for example. When I was reading that customs were going to be available, instantly to my head, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and give Aaron a try. Because my custom loadout for him was literally command grab, scud shot, and that safe-ass low special, because that move costs 1 slot. That was going to be my Aaron custom. But then reading, I'm like, wow, they actually addressed that low move. So now I have to think of a new custom I would make, and now it's going to be more options between me just going with that one loadout that would have probably been his best, because why not? It has everything.
What was that move in that load? I don't even know what that move is.
It was -5. It was his low gunshot. It pushed him back. It covered all his gaps. -5, completely safe. It was so good, and it was only 1 slot.
Of course, NRS nerfing another low gunshot move.
No, Dave. After a year, he's
Yeah, but see, look, here's the thing, though. Look, here's the thing, though. NRS addressing stuff like that, they don't want... I think NRS doesn't want customs to boil down to, okay, guys, find the best possible custom loadout and then only use that. I think they want to kind of look at characters now and be like, okay, now you guys have to pick and choose what moves you want to have to how you want to play. They don't want there to be a specific custom best loadout. Because like I said, with Aaron being addressed that way, it's no longer going to be why would you not have these 3 moves every single time. Now you kind of have to choose like what you're going for.
I saw one, like somebody picked a variation of a shotgun stance. Then scud shot. So shotgun stance for like juggles, like in corner situations, and like the overhead or whatever it is that whatever that overhead, or might not be overhead. I don't know that. I'm talking about that new move that they gave to that has that with the acid pour on it. So there's that, and they gave him scud shot. So gave him something for safety and close, scud shot from range for counter zoning, and gave him the shotgun for more damage. So I don't think there's always one answer. It's just kind of like, I think the way it's going to be. I think it's going to be whatever's best for you. I don't know if there's going to be a universally accepted best.
Well,
Yeah, whatever's best for you or whatever's best for the matchup you think you may be going up.
Well, let me ask, I guess, the best command grab player in this call. So King Jr., to go back to what Zyphox mentioned, I'm a little bit worried about that, because if you look at my best variation right now for my character would be RoboCop with command grab, low gunshot, and flamethrower. So he can pretty much do all of that except launch, and launch, with the flamethrower just gives you enough advantage to you can just walk up and do the 50-50 with the command thrower at random string. So it seems like that would definitely be the best variation for RoboCop overall, and that's kind of like what Geras can do already. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Zyphox is wrong? What are you thinking?
I mean, again, it's kind of like what Tom said in the sense we're not even there yet, so I don't know. But in a game like MK11, grabs are definitely really strong, and I would agree that's probably RoboCop's anticipated best custom, but I also want to say I don't think everybody's going to bandwagon on it, though, because they're going to play how they want to play, so I don't think there's going to be a universal option that everybody follows.
But don't you think that at the end of the day, people are going to pick the variation that they think is the best to win, regardless of personalities, regardless of creativity?
I mean, it depends on the player at that point. Everybody's different. Depends what you're trying to play for, too. Like, if you're trying to play competitive, then yeah, I guess. But, I mean, I'm using New Era, and a lot of people are saying Eternal's the best, but you don't see me using Eternal, really, do you?
No, that's true.
And I think, Dave, you made a good point when you introduced Franco, which is that you have to play with the skill set that you have, right? If you've never played a command grab character and you're not good at it, someone who spent years studying and playing command grab characters and learning all the ins and outs of when people jump, when they try to take it, when they, like the person to person meta matters. Likewise, if you haven't spent any time zoning at all, you're probably not going to become a top tier zoner just because your character now has a fireball. So I think regardless of the tools, it's still going to come down to what are you best at and what favors you as a player.
Yeah,
and
go ahead, Rio. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, like, some of the people freaking out about command grab meta, this and that. You have to keep in mind this isn't MKX where characters like Jason could do a command throw and like so many characters couldn't literally punish out and whiff. It's not like that. A lot of the command throws in MK11 are heavily punishable on whiff if you jump. And now that we have short hop becoming part of the meta with how they counter poke, so you're going to see a lot more short hops. That's another thing right there that's going to completely demolish command grabs if you do it at the wrong time. You have to keep that in mind.
That's fair. I wanted to avoid too much speculation, because we don't want to speculate about a game that we pretty much know nothing about, especially considering all these changes. Like the thing you mentioned with the hop, I'm ignorant. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, yeah.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite change I'm looking forward to, actually, is the short. Because I always like short hops. But now that they're going to be like such a huge deal in countering pokes, it opens up so many layers for many different things. Countering throws, countering pokes, setting up staggers into making your opponent want to throw the poke and then counter. Like, it's going to be sick.
Yeah, completely didn't take that in consideration. So kind of want to limit the amount of speculation that we have to do, because we don't know all the facts, and we're not going to have all the facts for at least 10 days or so. So let me go back. Let me ask Zyphox, which of the 3 new DLCs are you most looking forward to playing?
Actually, Rain. Believe it or not, I've always liked Rain, and out of all of the ninja characters, I don't use any ninjas. I actually use mostly just human characters in most NRS games. And the only ninja I've ever gravitated toward was Rain. and so it's just natural. Rambo, he looks cool. You know, fits into the archetype that I would use, but Rain, he's swaggy. You know, and I'm looking to try to be like someone who has like freedom. Liu Kang in this game does not have as much freedom as he had in prior games, even though he has like the same general play style, and it feels like I've been using Liu Kang since since forever, kind of like the same. I just want more like I gravitated towards Fuji when he came out and made him my secondary just because he had like so much swag, you know, so much freedom to do shit, and I feel like if I'm looking for like the character that I want to use to like express myself, and I feel like Rain is gonna fit that bill.
Tom, what about you? Is there a specific character you looking forward to playing, or is it just Sub Zero?
Melina. MK2. Melina's one of my favorite MK characters. Played her quite a bit in the arcade back in MK2, and I just really liked her in general. This game, I like how she has a lot of, well, I don't know, like a lot of her Melina stuff. And she's one of my favorite characters. But of course, I was worried, like, she's going to be more restricted by the variations, etc. The fact that you now have a lot of freedom, combined with, she's one of my favorite characters. I'll probably be playing quite a lot of Melina, more so than Rambo. And I've never been much of a fan of Rain, but so definitely Melina.
All right, Crimson, what about you?
I mean, I was thinking about it. At first, if you would have taken all the characters by their preset variations, I would have said Rain for sure. But just in terms of what's going to be best and what's going to be really fun, I think that Melina and Rambo actually play into the custom variation system extremely well. And the reason why is that they both have completely different kinds of tools in the full range of their tool set, right? Like we saw Melina has anti-zoning, she has zoning, she has rush down stuff, command grab, right? She might have trap setups with that side that comes across the floor and shoots up into the air and stuff like that. And likewise, Rambo has an extremely diverse tool set. So I'm really excited to see what is possible to put together with those characters, their tools, their specials, and the custom variation system.
All right, Rio, what about you?
Melina, by far. I'm so glad she looks nothing like that horrible MKX thing that was called Melina. Dude, I'm so happy that crappy clone got killed off, because I'll tell you this right now, the real Melina would have bit Devora's face off if she tried to do that to the real Melina. But I think Melina looks great. Definitely gonna be playing her. She looks really fun. She's got a lot of different moves and stuff. And then after her, I'll probably try Rain. I don't really care that much about Rambo, but he does have some cool traps and setups, so I'll probably give him a try after I'm done with those two characters.
I like the fact that you said Melina, because it kind of goes back to your, I guess maybe your first tournament ever, big one, when you went to Evo and got top 8 with. Actually, you placed second with Melina and MK9. What was it, 2011, right? Or
Yeah, it wasn't my first tournament, but yeah, it was
yeah.
my first Evo.
So I like the fact that gonna try using her. Kind of goes back a little bit.
Of course, I mean she looks badass. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
She's terrifying. She looks awesome.
Kind of goes back to your roots a bit. Franco, what about you?
All right. Yeah. Sorry, my computer having issues right now, but my favorite out of the three characters is Rain for sure. I want to use the variation with the anti-air launcher. I think it's like the water variation with the restand, all the splash moves. But I'm looking forward to Melina as well, because she has a command grab now. I think in variation 2, where she literally stabs your face 10 times and peep that she does the knife game on her hands, like on your face. It's really cool. Like the detail that NRS put in her. Rambo, I never watched any of his movies, sadly. I apologize to anybody that's offended by that. But he has a command grab as well, and I think V3 it is. Or, well, now that customs are allowed, he has a command grab in general, so I'll look into that, because, I love command grabs, but as a character, I really don't care for him, to be honest. But I'll watch his movies at some point, since, I don't want to use a character I know nothing about.
Let me ask for you. Did the game need to change like this?
I personally don't think it needed to change, but since a lot of people kind of were requesting an NRS listen, I guess it's a good thing it changed.
Tom, what about you? What do you think?
Did it need to change?
Yeah.
Hell yes. Hell
Why do
yes.
you? What about the argument? And Ria, I want to put words in your mouth or anybody else's mouths in this call. What about the fact that some people say, the game is what it is. You either like it or you don't.
Mm,
Yeah, and I'm gonna have the same argument for when the patch comes out. You either like it or you're not. I mean, look at the game right now. Even without the patch announcement, there's still literally multiple tournaments every single day. Literally 10,000s of viewers. I mean, did you really think the game was gonna go anywhere regardless of the patch or not?
Tom, what do you think?
if you count view botting, yeah, we have tens of thousands of viewers. Really, I think that what it comes down to is there are people that are going to have their mind made up no matter what they do. There are people who have just convinced themselves that the game is X, Y, or Z. And even if NetherRealm said, write a list of demands, what would it take for you to play this game again? And they did everything on that person's list.
Which is essentially what this patch is almost.
They would still complain. Those people, they just don't like it because they don't like it. I mean, there's no changing their mind. But I think the people that really like the game and still compete, it was competing more so out of hope that something would change. I mean, when you see the best of the best stop really playing much, I think that is a sign. And I just think that the game was very dry, and you really kind of the characters lacked a lot of that freedom that they have now. And I think the game desperately needed something like this. I mean, is it going to stop the complaining? No, but our community is fairly new. It's been around 10 years, but it seems to reset every Mortal Kombat game due to lack of legacy. So it stays more newish than experienced. And if you came in with Mortal Kombat 11, you're very used to very simple answers to problems. Now that you're going to have to hear, okay, look, well, what about this and then that and this and that? You're like, so I have 10 things I have to look out for. What am I supposed to do? Make the read is something they've never even experienced in Mortal Kombat 11 for a lot of them. It's very cut and dry, down 1, down 4, jump, wake up buttons. I think the game needed this. It pumps a ton of life into it. But no matter what happens, it's never going to stop the complaining. I think the difference is, for some reason, every fighting game out there has the same amount of complainers. If you poll Street Fighter players or Tekken players, you'll find just as many complainers there. But for some reason, the complainers in Mortal Kombat seem to have way more of a voice.
They're put on a pedestal,
This
red
is-
carpet.
this
I don't know why. That's one thing we need to stop doing. I don't know why it is.
I know
This is
why.
a
And there's community,
where everybody,
The people that
is
hate the
an
game and don't like it get put into this pedestal where everybody has to stop what they're doing and listen to them bitch and complain. Like, look at this patch. Literally addresses everything that people have been constantly complaining about since day one. They're addressing the down ones and pokes, the throws, the fatal blows. They're getting rid of variations. They're toning down Jackie, etc. Even increasing the balance on an already balanced game. I mean, there's got to be a point where we need to just stop putting people that constantly complain and bitch on a pedestal.
I mean,
I don't understand why these people that complain nonstop have to have their opinions heard over everybody else, and everything has to be centered around them.
But what about?
I'm just gonna say it.
Crimson, just before you go, what about the well-constructed argument that Cherney is making that the game is dog shit?
Dude, I mean, he said Fujima's dog shit, but the character was dumb as hell.
Oh my god.
I'm just trolling. Dude, I talked to Cherney and just to get his opinion, and he's like, the game is worse now than it ever been.
Nah, we gotta stop giving those people airtime.
Dave, I mean, that's your fault, though. You give everyone who has opinions like this power, man.
I haven't given anybody the power, but anyway, Crimson, go ahead, please.
First of all, I'm not even gonna mention that guy's name from here forward until the end of the game's life. He is known as that guy.
Look, Cherney's a cool dude. Nobody has any issues with him. But come on, dude. When you call a character like Fujin dog shit when he's incredibly good with his tools, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Bro,
Well, actually, I have to. I'm gonna
The
ask
character literally had an infinite when he claimed he was dog shit.
I'm gonna ask a question about Fujin actually in a moment, but go ahead, Crimson.
Yeah,
I was gonna
have
say,
issues.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I have issues with him, and the issue is that if you make your opinion up to the point that no matter what changes, no matter what gets addressed, no matter what's different, you're gonna hate the game regardless. It's just not your game. You gotta move on. You gotta let it go. And this guy is the king of not letting it go. When you get to the point where you could be 100% wrong and still not let it go, it's really time to change something out. And
Can we finally admit that Fujin's one of the better characters in the game?
and let's face it, like our community is spoiled. All right, if we're honest, we came into the scene later than a lot of communities. We got a whole bunch of money super fast in MKX, and we're used to being buddy buddy with the devs. We used to think about it, the lead designer of the game, the guy who makes all the balance decisions. The buck stops at Paulo, and he was in everyone's streams. We had streams of like 70, 80 people, and the lead designer was in there cracking jokes and chopping it up and stuff like that. We had events where the whole community got invited out, like before, when they announced MK11 and stuff like that. And I think when you get used to being that close to the devs, you get used to the idea that whatever you say, they're listening, that whatever you think, that they care. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do when you have Twitter, because all of a sudden it's not just like, oh, I'm tweeting for myself and my friends. No, it's listen, NRS, you got to listen to me because I'm going to fix your game. And so I think we got a little spoiled, and I almost kind of like the fact that NRS took their time to let people know, look, we're listening, but this is our choice. You're not going to force us into a corner. We're going to make the decisions, and you guys are going to have to deal with them. And I think now, hopefully, we're back to a middle ground where we can see that.
Zyphox, go ahead. Did you want to jump in?
Oh, I was just gonna say how Cherney's kind of like Trump, but I didn't want to derail. I didn't want to derail the whole.
Bro, you can't. This guy went politics, man.
Well, not to. I don't want to blow up anybody. I think the reason I'm mentioning Cherney, or at least because I was the first one, is because I think he represents the section of people who are the most critical about the game. I think
The
that's fair to
silent
say.
minority.
I call it whatever you want to call it, but the thing is, I those people kind of lose me. I mean, I think the game definitely has some stuff that needs to be addressed, and I think the developers, Stephanie, Derek, and Tyler on stream, they said, okay, we did all these changes. We do listen. We watch all the streams. We read we read the tweets. We listen to the comment. All the comments, and I don't know how what else you can say. I mean, all the guys are trying, so. And you have to be fair to them. It's not an easy process, but they just lose me with the constant negativity, and I just don't know how. I just don't see how you can make the claim that the game is worse than ever. I think that's absolutely absurd. But go ahead, say what you wanted to say, guys. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the most underrated thing about this entire patch is the removal of short delay. Okay, that short delay really changes the way you Oki in this game, because not only do you have to worry about the wake up roll, the full delayed wake up. Wake up buttons is only possible because you're short delay, like on many occasions. The fact that you have to wait 3 different timings on Oki is absurd. And now that they've changed it to where it's like I think they said it's like, oh, you have it's like more of like a quick rise now on normal knockdowns, and then you have like a delayed wake up where it's a static time that everybody knows when it's going to be. It makes it to where Oki is kind of like a thing now. I remember the main gripe that I had about this game was that once you knock somebody down, it's you never had the real like, oh shit, I got this guy. Now let me go ahead and unleash all fury on him that you had in previous games. And most fighting games are like that. Not 3D games, but definitely 2D games, right? So I remember when Street Fighter 4 first introduced the delayed wake up system. Remember how that changed the game? it's going to be the same way in this game. It's going to be like, well, now that the short delay doesn't exist, there's just one less option that they have, and more of like, okay, I know how I'm going to meaty people. I don't have to do a down one meaty to try to like, okay, well, if he short delays, I'm not going to get blown up here. Obviously, wake up roll is still going to blow up any full strings on knockdown or whatever, but you have the sort of like a better static understanding of when people are going to be able to do anything. I think wake up buttons are going to be not a thing anymore. You know, if you like timing meaties is a very it's a fundamental skill that like was kind of taken away in MK11 because of how many options you had, and I'm glad that that's going to return and that's going to fundamentals. It's going to be
I still feel like the way that the wake up system was before was implemented so that the game would be more reliant on neutral than Oki.
no, I agree.
Because if you think about it, most of the games, like if you watch people play Comet League, whatever, they knock somebody down and then they retreat back to neutral, and it's kind of like a thing. They want players to keep going back to neutral because they wanted this game to be more about footsie and neutral base. So I understand why they did it like that.
Well,
It makes sense.
before we argue about that, I think Tom probably did the most research on this topic. In fact, he posted a 3 minute video today already on his channel. Tom, what do you think about this? And can you give us a little bit more detail?
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people are kind of like speculating what Stephanie meant with the 4-frame get up faster thing. They're like, oh, does that mean less invincibility by 4 frames? Wake up attack comes faster. All that means is when you go in the game right now and you knock somebody down, that box that says hit advantage, so just subtract 4 from that number. So you knock somebody down, it says hit advantage 30. Subtract 4, that means they get up in 26 frames. They start their rising process. Now, once you start your rising process, the frame data does not change. You are still invincible for 20 frames on quick rise. And if you do a long delay, once you choose to lay on the ground, you are on the ground for 30 frames plus 22 invincible while you rise. So that's still 52 frames. And if you want to get an 8-frame jab, that's going to take another 8 frames there. So it's still going to be about 1 second from long delay to lay on the ground and get up. This helps meaties because the problem was you would go to meaty and they would be like short delay. And even though you were trying to meaty getting straight up, they would short delay and still get up with invincible frames going through your moves and then comboing you. The fact that now you can time a meaty on getting straight up, and because it's literally going to take almost an entire second for you to get off the ground and attack, you can meaty with attacks that will still combo the opponent, but leave you safe from getting comboed yourself because of how long they're going to be grounded. Now, some people will say this is dumb. I'm on the ground. Why this? Why that? You have to understand. You got hit. You got knocked down. Now you're entitled to have options, so you're not infinitely pressured. So if you get up and you're just at slight advantage because they missed an attack, that's fine. But in no way should somebody be getting comboed for pressing their advantage. The point of wake up options is to get you off the ground and not be pressured for eternity. And I think the wake up system became more of a 50-50 of someone's going to get comboed, me or you. And that's not how wake ups are. I think a lot of people's carelessness and I'm going to hold up. I don't care. Okay, whatever. I'll take that hit. Knock me down. Whatever. Good. That's cool. Some of the people in this game, even some of the most defensive and safe players, when they get knocked down, they do not care. Wake up jump, wake up buttons, because they feel empowered when they're knocked down. And I think that also people don't care about the mistakes they make. Now a knockdown is supposed to be a terrible feeling. And in Mortal Kombat 11, it was a terrible feeling for the person who's standing over you. So I think that being changed, a lot of people are going to feel like, oh my God, why? I was just jumping. Now I'm knocked down. And what am I going to do? Get up? People are so used to Mortal Kombat 11 in a lot of ways held people's hand. Not because of, oh my God, it's scrubby this, scrubby that, but because they introduced so many new things to the game, they just couldn't possibly be sure how to tweak it, right? Without it. And we all know this, and Krim, you know this as well. Had they had started to touch things early on, people would have said, oh my God, let the game breathe, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, when they let it breathe, they say, what are they doing? Did they forget about us? But they took their time to say, okay, well, because we're not sure how to change any of this stuff, we'll just kind of leave it the way it is, kind of like in base form. Give the game enough time to get enough information so that we can see what we're going to do. So I think a lot is going to change from the wake up system, but it doesn't make the game more scrubby. It's kind of funny how, again, that part of the community who just complains about everything is on a pedestal, and their voice gets heard so much, and they're like, oh, it's going to make it scrubby. For some reason, giving advantage to the person who took the initiative, got the knockdown, is considered a scrubby game when the person on the ground has to pay for their mistakes. I think we just have a weird view of looking at things right now because our community is so young, but I think this game is the right thing at the right time to really turn things around.
And if we're honest, you still have lots of options on Oki, right? Like, you have a ton of options. So it almost gets back to what Tom said in the last broadcast, which was that before there were two things. It was, did I make the right read? And then it was, did I time my read correctly? Right? And now you still have rolls. You still have up 3. You still have up 2. You can still jump. You can block. You can fly a spot. You can do all these different things. So the reads are still there. It's just you have to commit to a harder read versus this thing of, well, I'm just going to get up and hit buttons, and there's a 50% chance it's going to land me a full combo versus them hitting me. So you're still not locked into just laying on the ground, but you're going to have to make a harder read, and I think that's still good for the game.
Yeah, and the good thing about it also is what people really want to do is when they lose, when they want to make a mistake, they want to say, I made the mistake and I can lab this so I don't make it in the future. You knock somebody down and they're doing like a long delay and you still get the invincible frames. It's not about, oh my God, why invincible frames? It's bro, you know exactly when they're going to get up off this. You can literally go into practice mode, duplicate that exact same knockdown, and practice exactly when to hit them because the timing is static now. There's no in between. So if something happens and you still go through the invincible frames, you can say, that's my fault. I knew exactly when they were getting up and I was still too early. I can work on that. I think the previous wake up system was something you said, well, I can't work on it because the person on the ground actually had to guess less. You had to make the guess of, okay, is it going to be, are they going to get straight up? No. Okay, I guess delay. And then once you guess delay, you have to guess, but which delay, long or short? When they're on the ground, all they have to guess is, are you going to attack right away or not? If they guess attack right away, delay. If they guess, oh, he's going to wait for my delay, get straight up. So the person on the ground actually had one less decision to make when it came to so really they actually had somewhat of an advantage, which is just not how knockdowns are supposed to work. So I think this was a much needed change.
Well, that's my sorry to interrupt you, Zyphox. That's my criticism, like what Rio was saying. They wanted to have the strong wake up, so you kind of have to back off. But that's so counterintuitive the way you play any fighting game. It's whether you're a zoning character, especially a rushdown character. Why should I retreat because I scored a knockdown? That means I should have the advantage. I shouldn't have to retreat because you have 10 wake up options or more. That was my issue. Even as a zoning.
Well, to be fair, MK11 does give you the choice of playing characters that completely counter the wake up system. Like if you want to get free Oki every time, just play Devora. Choose the variation that does that, or you could just choose one of the many characters that end in a restand with Nut Punch, and then you don't have to deal with any wake up.
I know, but getting a knockdown is not being a rushdown character or zoner. It's like you should be able to pressure with anybody. And
no, I get that, and you can. I'm just saying the reason why they originally had it like that is because they wanted the game to be focused around what you guys wanted. Not you guys, I mean, in the call, but I mean, people generally wanted footsies and neutral. So of course they would make a game that would want to make you play for footsies and neutral.
Think about why, like, walking back in Injustice 2 was so strong, and then think about why being knocked down in this game favors like the defender, because they have the war of attrition is always won when you got knocked down. Your chances of having a possession, so to speak, increases, right? So you have more of a chance to enact your own offense in neutral when you have more chances while you're on the ground. And I think that's what they were aiming for. They were like, okay, well, like, sometimes in certain games you get knocked down or you get put into like a quote unquote vortex. It wasn't fun for the other player. So we were gonna make this game where it's like, okay, you have these options to get off the ground where like you get a chance to play the game. Now that you they kind of don't, and you have to make a read in order. It's going to reintroduce skill and defense in this game, right? And I
Yeah, but I'm also glad that they completely didn't neuter the wake up system. Like people have been asking to get
take
rid of
away all
this,
the
get rid of
options.
rolls, get rid of that. I'm like,
Right.
damn, you guys are really trying to go back to like MKX, get knocked down, just constantly get strike throw over and over and over.
yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't go that direction. They slightly revamped the wake up system and got rid of short delay. I think that's fine. There's still a lot of options.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be fair as long as you can, like Tom says, as long as you can practice it. There's a predictable timing, and you can you can time your stuff and do do the labbing. I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's probably how it should have been in the first place.
I
What's
think
that?
the real good thing is they got rid of what the actual problem was, which was the short delay. I mean, it wasn't the roll, it wasn't whatever. It was that intermediate timing. That's really what it was. It was always the short delay.
I abused the fuck out of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and it was meterless too. It was always available.
Literally, it was just like short delay.
At least with roll, you need to use some kind of meter.
Yeah, that's fair. But let me ask Franco about and then maybe even Crimson. Why is so when Fujin first came out, everybody thought it was garbage, including many Fujin players who use him now. But then I was looking at the matches that I don't know what tournament it was, Crimson. I think you might have been commentating or at least hosting. I forget where. I think it was 2 versus 2 that tournament where Ninja Killer. I know he's one of the best players in the game, not the
Slayer's
best.
2v2. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
on Slayer's tournament.
He was just bodying everybody, and even people who I thought like were punishing some of this stuff, like combat with Cage, with with 4-3, with the shadow kick. He was still just beating people probably worse than he ever did, even with Liu Kang. How do you explain that?
Frank,
I mean, look at the character's tools, dude. The movement,
honestly, Hayate
his footsie.
was the first person I saw. And when I saw Hayate's movement, I realized this character is not what people thought he was. I mean,
oh, my fault. You go first.
no, go ahead, Franco.
I was just about to tell Dave. I was only saying V3 Fujin was really bad.
No,
I
no,
didn't
I'm not
speak
I'm
for the
not.
other
I'm not.
variations.
I didn't. I'm not happy.
Plot twist: V3 Fujin is above average. The other two are obnoxious.
I know. I'm only asking because I thought you spent the most labbing the character. That's the only reason why I'm asking.
Oh,
Because
I thought you were
not-
asking because I was
Not because I'm
saying.
trying to blow you up or anything like that. Not at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you go on, Crimson.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, as soon as I saw Hayate play and I saw his movement, I realized that a lot of people were wrong about how they thought that character was gonna play. I mean, his ability to get in and out when he wants, to have range and to have range with safety, is in a game where not a lot of people have crazy mobility options. It's absolutely huge. And when you put those tools in the hands of someone like Ninja Killer, I mean, you saw it. It's like he makes people afraid to even move. They don't know what to do. They don't know if they can hit a button. They don't know if they can advance. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, can we also admit that 4-3 is one of the dumbest footsie moves also? It goes under a bunch of shit, low profile, safe.
Right.
Easiest thing to hit from it to fatal blow. I mean,
Wait,
and also, dude, day one, I was
saying.
saying, bro, I remember Dave and Tom blew me up for this. Day one, and I think Trinity too. Day one, when I was testing Fuji, I'm like, dude, this meter burn thing to flawless block, sometimes you're going to mess it up because it's kind of sketchy. And I remember Cherney and whatever, and you guys were like, nah, bro, it's OSable. So easy to punish this net. I'm watching people play against Fujin months later, and they still can't punish that shit every time. Things like that are really good. Having to guess to floss block something, or if you hesitate for a split second, you're going to miss the punish.
The 4-3,
really powerful.
it has actually, it's one of the few moves that have a late cancel window, so you can actually.
No, I'm talking about his needle move into the meter burn. That shit.
Yeah, that move's really
that
good.
shit. I see people miss punishing that all the time. It's not easy. You got to be like, you got to make like the double hard read on that.
That
to
move's
punish
really
it
good.
consistently.
I haven't played
It's
enough.
Super good.
Yeah, I haven't played enough to know
That
if
shit
you
is
can
cheap.
OS it or not, but if you can, I would imagine it's hard.
It's pretty easy with something like the slide. You have a pretty big window. But in general, yeah, I see people miss it. It's still a guess. End of the day, people are going to guess wrong.
I think Fujin's super good. I think he's like top 10.
I do think he's good, but again, he was good for the wrong reasons.
Oh, you haven't seen some of his dumb customs? Oh.
Okay, but that's fine.
I'm watching one right
But
Yeah, that's
customs
fine.
is fair. Customs is more of a fair situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's better that way.
He was just better because which was cool was he had his own game. One of the things that make characters like Fujin, Jackie, Joker, Liu Kang, Cetrion, if you can just peel back from the majority of people who are like, this is the devil, this game, just ban this stuff, right? If you can peel it back and just look at these characters in a vacuum, they're quite inventive and they all play the game differently and they all have their own different meta. And if you can just look at them in a vacuum, you're like, wow, this is pretty and creative with how they play. And Fujin as well. You look at Fujin, you're like, wow, this character's kind of creative, right? And then you look at Shao Kahn and you're like, sweep, down 1, down 4, short hop 3 or 2.
Hold up.
These are-
Shao Kahn short hop's about to be monstrous this patch.
Okay, but
He's gonna start doing shit on block. You try to
But
poke back,
again,
short hop, and you
all of
die.
his best, a lot of his most common used moves are moves that every character in the game had. The game was very universal. So when you play these characters, you're like, wow, this is great because the synergy they have with how they play and their specials and everything, you're like, wow, this is awesome. And I saw Rai in the Diddle Dome today when I was commentating. He had a really cool variation of Fujin where he had the thing around the hands, right? So it can do a little bit more damage and
Extra
have
range.
extended
Mhm.
range on the normals. Then he also had Skywalker, and I forget he had one more thing that I forget what it was. I think, but what was pretty cool was so he had the push, which was good from range, and he had Skywalker. So a lot of times he could do those normal strings off back 1-1 where it's like, God, if you finish them, good luck, right? GG's. So what he could do was he could do end all those strings and push. And if you respect the push, he could end them now in Skywalker and then land right in front of you and kind of mix you up that way. And it really kept you kind of like on your toes. And he would do the same thing with forward 3. He would forward 3 in a push, forward 3 in a Skywalker. You had to respect it because that push commanded its safety. And once you really looked at Fujin and kind of put stuff together like this, you're like, wow, now there's even a lot more creativity. I saw Koizi playing Cassie Cage today, and he had that ball that formed that force field that causes chip, and he did some string into the straight gunshots, did like 18% chip because there's a dot, right? While you're in
Yeah,
there.
the force field that does dot.
I mean,
It's like Garen's acid on crack.
Just some stuff you look at and you're like, wow, this is so creative. All this time, people criticize Mortal Kombat 11. As I'm watching this exhibition, I'm like, wow, all this time this game is criticized for not having any creativity, and it actually did. It was just locked behind a wall that we couldn't use. So I'm like I said, I'm super excited. And Fujin is one of the more creative characters. But now I think how we look at Fujin, now I think we can look at the cast that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that kind of go back how all the top tiers, more or less, like a lot of them kind of already have the best, best of everything. I mean, they already have their kind of best moves that you can pick from all the available moves. Whereas, look at somebody maybe like Noob or some of the other characters, and it's like, why do I have a ghost ball that's like 40 frames and it's supposed to be unblockable?
Well, that makes sense because it's with his other obnoxious move.
I know, but it's like, to me, it's just, and that's like the balancing part is like they add these, like one really good move, but then there's like one that's completely like worthless. Like for Shang Tsung, for example, he has the ground eruption, which is he's clearly meant to have that, and then he has the 3-hit fireball, whatever that like nobody ever uses. So it's like, so I don't like balancing decisions like that. It's kind of like almost lazy in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but it's just.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Word on the street though is that Noob is going to be broken customs. I've
Uh,
heard
That's
this.
the word on the street for every character, though, Graham.
I've heard this almost more than any other character in 3 or 4 different places. So whatever
They say that
Noob-
about. I heard that about every character today, like literally.
Which one?
Yeah, it's because he can get almost 50% if you put together all of his combo shit from every hit.
right.
Is that the reason why?
I would assume so. I mean, the only other special he has that's really good is that safe low thing, but I don't think
What
people
I've
are going
seen,
to use it.
my characters are going to get major damage in this patch.
You guys ready for Marvel Cabal?
Actually,
When you thought his ground game was obnoxious, wait until you see his air go.
Dude, the gas blast is crazy.
wait for that.
He's always in the air.
I actually like it.
And his move is good in there. It's not like it's like
Right.
really good.
Yeah, no, I actually like it though.
Yeah, that's
Very original.
But who knows? They may tone it down. Like we don't know what's gonna happen. They
But
may
it's
make
two
his
slot,
air
which
move
should be
cost a
good.
bar or
It's a two-
something.
When you
Who
have a
knows?
2-slot move, when you make a build around a 2-slot move, you've got to build around that move, right? Period. So you've got to find the right way to complement it. It's a 2-slot move, so it takes up major resources.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Oh, it is a 2-slot move.
Yeah, the
Yes,
air.
you can combine
the
it
gas
with one other
blast
move.
is 2 slots. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
you're losing something. You're losing a lot of that zoning.
Yeah, well, yeah, some. But hook sword, that's one though, right? Still, hook sword.
Wait, a lot of what zoning? His default is zoning. You could do the downward bus out or regular bus out.
Yeah, but not the low bus. That's not default.
Bro, who the hell is doing that?
People that don't like to get slid, or
Yeah, I guess.
like Frost will do her. Like,
You're not gonna be sliding him in the air 24/7.
Frost will do her dive bomb just to go under it from the right distance if they do it, and she'll go under it, and but you can't do that if he has his low. Like I see Frost players do that quite a bit. They use her dive bomb to go to slide under it, which was pretty cool.
Like she could do the same thing if you throw a low saw. She'll just go over it
My
instead.
point is didn't really matter. She didn't have to time it differently. She would just do one timing and beat whatever.
I mean, I think
Go
the
ahead.
foot season safety that he has, combined with the additional mobility from the air.
Yeah, and then we all know that they're gonna give him that hook sword launcher extender of 1 bar, so we all know what's coming.
I think it's incredibly strong.
That's
I mean,
fine.
we'll see.
He's gonna be hitting a hard a lot of all those
That's
hits.
fine.
Did we talk about down 1 and how that's gonna,
Yeah, I'm really liking that change
Yeah,
from
change?
the sound of it.
Bro, I can't wait to fight Liu Kang players, do my staggers, and they try to poke back with back one or down one. I'm gonna short hop. They commit to back 1-2-4, bitch, jump up, get hit by the first hit, wake up, combo you. Or if they do down one, I'm crushing that shit with my short hop.
Well, they didn't go over.
Can't wait to mash
they
on that
didn't go
character.
over all the breakaway changes, dude. So I don't, or the whatever. So
Well, let me.
I don't think they changed breakaway.
they didn't go over.
No, I'm not talking about breakaway. I'm talking about holding up. He commits the whole string. I get clipped out. I hit the ground, and then his string whiff.
Okay.
Actually, that's nothing. What we really should be talking about is something that's a big deal, because for all of us who played Mortal Kombat back in 9, this went unchanged for 10 years. Crouching hitbox is adjusted.
Yeah.
So that means Kano, mega buffed. That forward 2 string that everyone likes to go under, no more. Cage fireballs will finally hit normally. People, Aaron Black and down 4 low profile and everything. Nope, no more, my friend. GG's. And this also helps people's up 3s become good again. Like, oh, Aaron Black was one of the biggest defenders. Oh, knock somebody down, And with customs, I expect to see certain things change. I could see Aaron Black's back 2-2-2 and 2-1-2-1-2 be mid. And no more overheads.
Why would they do that?
Why? You need to slide that bad?
Bro, you could fuzzy that shit. It's not even a real mix-up. Who the hell's doing 2-1-2-1-2?
No one's doing double fuzzies, one. And it's reactable, but not on
No,
the
dude.
internet.
That's a gimmick.
Offline, you can react.
Yeah,
to
well,
the
yeah,
slide
online, but
100%
who cares about
offline.
balancing the game for online?
But still, there's a lot more tools to go with that now. See,
Tom,
without
you know-
customs, it's a set like, oh, whatever.
Tom,
But now he's got a lot of other
2-1-2-1-2-1
tools to
slide, are you
combo with
serious?
that
That's
now.
not even a thing. And
And
even
it's
when he hits you, he
kinda
gets like
weird.
no reward.
So.
The Aaron players would burn down.
And you
the
could
offices.
literally take the slide cancel with something else with that overhead, and then it's like overhead. Well, you ever do is because that thing is an overhead, right?
What thing?
Right, that's an overhead, right? I'm
What is?
I'm looking out
It's
for you,
2-1-2-1-2,
Jukes, man.
yeah, the last
I
two
know you
hits.
want that back 2-2 to be mid, man. That's
Tom,
the Duke special right there.
the Aaron players would picket NRS. You'd see on the news a picket line of Aaron. All the Aaron.
I'm just very confused as to why 2-1-2-1-2 needs to be nerfed. They already did shit to
Is
that. They
that
already
thing- is that-
nerfed the 2-1 stagger
Is that thing an overhead?
last patch. The last 2 hits, yeah, they're overhead.
No, the gun, the overhead gun. Is that an overhead? Whatever.
Hell no, it's not overhead. If that was overhead, that would be obnoxious. It's a mid.
I mean, I'm just saying.
You talking about that move that goes into its acid that counters breakaway, like armor
I mean,
breaks?
I could see something like that.
No, that's not
I could see
overhead.
them making it all mids.
But I don't know why.
I
Why
mean,
would
do you
Aaron
need
need to be
do
nerfed
you
like
need
that?
to slide that badly?
I mean, but you can literally make the case for any. Do you need what you have on Sub-Zero right now? Does that 4-2 need to be 19 frames? Can't be 23.
I mean, I'd be happy if he just took it out altogether. I mean, it means nothing to
Yeah, but
me.
think about all the other Sub-Zero players that would leave.
Not my problem.
True.
Well, let me ask you this important question. I understand the stuff with the crouching hitbox is a major deal, but I think just as important, when you hop, does the hop itself crush lows, or do you have to commit to the actual attack?
You must commit to the actual attack, is the way they worded it. Now, I could be. It's kind of hard because they didn't go in too much detail. They said short hops, like a short hop 2, whatever. They specifically mentioned the attack. So that would change a lot of things because
I thought they said doing short hop makes you immune to down ones on the first frame.
I thought they said the short hop attack.
Yeah, but if you do short hop attack, that's like late into the short hop. You can't do instant short hop attack. That's not how it works. So how's that going to beat down ones then? You're still going to get down one if you have to do the attack for it.
Well, I don't know what they're like. If they're doing it like,
But here's what's important: they don't beat lows. They're just immune to those.
Yeah, they're just low crushing by a.
I know. Well, if it works like Tekken, remember in Tekken, as soon as you jump, you're immune to lows.
You're immune, right?
Yeah. Is it like that? You don't have to do a hop kick. You don't have to do any area like that.
I think that's what it is.
If it's like that means, like a Scorpion can do forward 3, hop, avoid your throw and your low attack, but then he would get hit by your mid string or by a jab or whatever the case is, which kind of what Rio was alluding to earlier.
It sounded like.
But I think down ones are also considered part of those low attacks. I think they also gave the short hops vulnerability to down ones specifically.
And it sounded like from what they were saying, it's like a certain number of frames where if you're outside of that window, then they're no longer invulnerable. But at the start, that it is.
Yeah, so on startup.
Yeah.
So let's say you do a string, right? You're -1 with Scorpion. If I think you're going to immediately do a down one back, I could short hop to go over your poke.
Well, it depends. What if someone does a 7-frame down one? By the time it's active, your short hop may be vulnerable.
I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, just a lot to test,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
How?
Because remember, short hops start up in 1 frame. Pokes 6, 7
think they
frames.
did
If
it that
Scorpion's
way.
-1 after, it should be able to cover your.
Keep in mind, short hops. I think they'll be good for things like staggers like that, But if they read that, you're gonna get blown up for full combo, which is fair. A read is a read.
Yeah, because if you jab anti them or whatever.
What
you
I
can get a
like
combo.
is another thing is that's why I think it's so crucial that they change the down ones. Like Sub-Zero's down one's -6. I always thought like -6, -5 was kind of fair for a down one. Keeps it safe, right? But negative frames. If they still kept down ones at like -2, -3, people would down one and just short hop your down one, and it would just be stupid. So I love how they made the necessary adjustments and then said, okay, well, if down ones and down threes are now like this, then we can go ahead and do something like this, and it's not unfair.
I always thought that the problem with down ones were the recovery frames. It doesn't leave a lot of you had to it was like a read reaction, right? That's how we got it from MK9. In order to punish a down one, you were literally sitting there waiting for the down one to come out and instantly just went.
Yeah, you have to instantly anticipate. And if you were wrong and they did a down 3, you couldn't even react. You just have to commit.
Yeah,
to it.
and then you would die for doing whatever to us because the down 3 was safe. Yeah,
exactly.
Really, but here's how they're fixing it.
Wait, hold on. Once I to finish this point,
I was just gonna say that now that they're changing it, I feel like it's just gonna change how the meta is gonna be played.
So whenever somebody blocks an attack, you see they have their guard animation comes up. They basically take your recovery from blocking and subtract it from my recovery when I whiff the move. So that means it takes Raiden 13 frames to recover from doing a down one. But okay. I was trying to go into his recovery frames. They didn't actually change the recovery on the attack. They changed your recovery when you block it. I was just kind of formulating that because if they changed the recovery on the attack, they'd be minus more when they whiff too.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff is speculation. We're just gonna have to wait, and see.
I'm just telling you how that's how it's calculated. They didn't make it minus more. They didn't actually make the move recover more. They allowed you to recover faster after blocking it.
Yeah, he means like, let's say you block down one, you're going through 40 frames of block animation, right? Now, when you block the down one, you have 35 frames of block animation.
Well, you have
You
10.
understand?
Like Raiden, you have 10 frames of block animation, but since he had 13 frames of recovery, 10 minus his 13, he's minus 3. But let's say instead of 10, you only have 7, right? Now he's minus 6.
Yeah, but you recover quicker.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, I know it's Zyphox saying, I didn't want someone to listen to this and be like, what? My move has more recovery. What? And that's not what they did. They didn't make the
Oh,
poke
yeah.
more recovery. They just made you have less
Yeah, they
recovery.
made people recover quicker from the pokes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the blocks. Then.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, I think we're about an hour. Let's wrap it up because I think my co-host will agree with you. We're trying to like limit the speculation. We could speculate all night, but we're trying to not to overdo the
I do
interpretation.
have one point I want to make really quick.
Go ahead.
before we wrap this up. Maybe everybody can chime in on this.
All right.
So reality is this. People say, well, how is this going to change the game? You brought up, Dave. A lot of people are like, this is the same game, whatever. Characters now can do what they're designed to do. Look at a character like Scarlet. She's designed as this keep away character. Only the problem is she could never keep anybody away. Like nothing she had was threatening enough. And then when you got in, it's like, well, they're in. I got to play the stagger game. But she's like, well, if I have to stagger, they'll just interrupt me every time. And if I finish the string, they'll just flawless block and launch me every time. So she really couldn't use her game. Now you can equip something like that blood clot move that it kind of like if you get anywhere near it, it just like tracks you, just jumps onto you. So now you can't special cancel anymore or like use meter for any reason. And then she has that thing that goes under your feet, in her variation 3. And that basically holds you there because kind of like Septrion with Geyser or Teleport, you're like, okay, I can't move. I have to watch out because if I'm not holding block waiting to punish Teleport, then she's gonna do that. Scarlet has the same thing where now she can kind of hold you there and it frees up her mobility with Teleport to kind of keep running away from you. And this blood clot move makes you say, okay, I don't want to just go in carelessly because now I can't special cancel. So she has, and it's not like unbeatable because you could say, all right, I'm going to just try to zone her and hit her in the face when she puts this out. And she says, oh, you're going to zone me, fool? All right, I'm going to teleport and beat that. And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm not going to zone. I'm going to wait to teleport and I'm going to punish you. And then she goes back to, okay, well, instead of that, since now you're waiting, I'm going to go back to setting this stuff up or zoning you some more. And it's a nice meta in which everybody has to make reads. People call situations like this broken simply because they're like, why? Why can't I just bulldog her down like I always do? I should be able to bulldoze this character for free. People look at something different as broken. Like, why? Wait a minute. I can't just do whatever I want to her like I always did. I have to watch out for this move here and that move. But that's what gives characters their identity. The way they designed her is actually how she is. They just weren't sure if those moves were okay or not. They weren't sure. They just didn't have enough time. Games today are just far more advanced, especially when you put in so many new mechanics to just do in a 2-year window. They just didn't have enough time to test it to be sure. But the way she was originally designed is to be played like that. And it doesn't mean it's broken. It just meant you never had to deal with it before. And I think there are a lot of situations in the game like that where characters actually play like, wow, I could see that archetype coming through now. And people are like, well, why can't I just get in and down one, strike, throw, blah, blah, blah. I have to watch out for this move, that move. But that's some of the beauty of the game.
And I think you also have to mention the fact that you always make this point is the game should have enough variety to the point where I'm not forced to beat people at certain aspects that I know I can. Like if you're trying to out 50-50 Zyphox, you'll never be able to do that ever in your life.
Even though he's not always a 50-50 player, I think
Yeah.
stigma. But if
That's
you're
right.
trying to do that to him, if you say, I'm going to play faster than Sonic, I'm going to play faster than Ninja Killer, I'm going to beat them with better offense. I mean, they're where they are for a reason. They're very good at a lot more things than most people are. And things like that, I don't see anybody being better than them ever. Like, not just as Mortal Kombat players, we see Sonic do things in other games, and as Ninja gets older, I expect to see him doing those things as well. They're just very, very good players. You're not going to beat them like that because they're just better than you at things like that. You've got to find something else that maybe, okay, maybe I might be not necessarily better than them at this, but comparable enough in this area where I can make it work. And I feel like the game didn't give you that. There was one way to play and only one way to play. And that's completely changed now.
All right. Well, with that said, I'm gonna wrap it up if you guys don't mind. Again, trying to limit the speculation and don't want to over-interpret stuff that doesn't need to be interpreted. We'll let the patch notes speak for themselves whenever they come out. We'll let the games speak for itself when it comes out on the 17th of this month, and then we can have a real conversation about, okay, what is the game actually like now when we look at all the facts, when we look at all the new characters, when we look at all these changed mechanics. We can have a legitimate, authentic, and accurate conversation. With that said, I want to thank my guest, Burrito Voorhees, aka King Jr. I want to thank my co-hosts, CrimsonShadow, Rio, Tom Brady, and Zyphox, for being part of this podcast. And we will see you guys on the next edition of the podcast when MK11 Ultimate comes out. Thank you so much for watching.